Well, I met him, I was 13, he was 9, and I met him because he was organizing his own ball hockey on the street. And I was coming up with a little newspaper that we would rent at 2 cents a copy and circulate it from door to door. So I made a deal with him that I'll write about every time a guy scores a goal on the net, anytime something happens in the area, we'll publicize it, and we both agreed. But I think we got close when we were able to raise money to build an outdoor skating rink in someone's backyard. And we got the fire department to be able to water the skating rink. Little did we realize, while we got them to water the skating rink, it was cold and below zero, but the next day it warmed up to about 5 Celsius. And we flooded the basements of all the Portuguese and all the Italian people who had a wine cellar in the basement. So can you imagine that we're turning around, flooding people's basements? Earl and I hid for about 2 weeks from the people because the parents were really getting to kill us because we killed their wine garden.
So I moved and I was playing in the lane and I seen this kid. And he had this paper, and he comes to me and said, "You give me a penny, I'll let you read the paper." What are you talking about? And then you got to give it back to me. I said, "Well, what are you talking about? I deliver papers. I don't need to read this crazy little one page. You got it." There was a shoemaker on the corner where Sun Youth was in the back. And that's where he hung around, and he would go out with the paper. And that's where our friendship started.
When we started, we played in a public school called Devonshire, which was on Back Street, next to where Clark Street's Son had its office, in the back of a shoe store. And we only had about 8 guys on a team, and I remember there was only one referee. And the gym was very small, it was a public school, but we thought it was big.
How would I put this? He wasn't the best looking guy of us all. And he was quiet, he was shy. He never, we'd all chase the girls, but not Earl. One day we go looking for Earl, and we can't find him. We're supposed to meet him, and we can't find him. Finally, one guy says, "I seen him, he's with Hilda." We said, "What do you mean he's with Hilda?" Earl's not gonna be with Hilda, are you crazy? Hilda's not gonna even give Earl the time of day. Sure enough, we go up and there's Earl and Hilda. And I said, "Oh shit." Here we all are, here we were. Nobody would talk to Hilda, we were shy. I mean, she was a beautiful looking woman. Always was a nice person. Of course, she had, her older brother he was a big, he fit that door. I would fit in the door for him. He was just a big guy, Henry. So we figured it was better to leave Hilda alone. But I guess Earl didn't, and they became real close and ended up getting married.
In 1973, I was the coach at Sir Winston-Churchill High School, and there was a teacher strike. So I was a young teacher, not knowing much else. And I didn't enjoy that boycott because I coached this team for 2 years. A lot of good kids, very successful. So someone suggested, "Why don't you call this guy Earl?" So I called him and I said, "Can I come down and meet you?" And I walked into his office and I shook his hand formally for the first time. And I said, "Listen, any chance you could have a second team here? Could we wear a shirt?" I explained what was going on. And it took him like 10 seconds. "Let's go. Let's do it." And we became a second Sun Youth team for that year.
I ended up playing for Earl for a couple of years over here at Sun Youth. I had my release from Laval, so he was like my first coach for football. And that's quite an experience when you have Earl as your first coach in football. It's like, jumping into cold water, right? There's always a shock.
Sun Youth sort of came at the right time in my life. I was having some difficulties, let's say with school, and other difficulties just with my behavior. I was not the best 15 or 16-year-old kid, and it was suggested that I get into football because it was a good way to get my, to vent my sort of frustrations, and that's how I got into it. And from there, Earl became a coach. He was my coach. He was like a mentor. He really personified sort of tough love.
The organization that he found, like, it just trickles down to everybody. Everybody has a little piece and love and shares all the community work that there is here at Saint Youth. It's incredible. I'm sure it's not only touched me, but it's touched so many others.
Quand Earl t'aimait, il pouvait te donner sa chemise. Quand je travaillais à Hydro dans le temps, puis il y avait un gars de l'Hydro qui travaillait dans le secteur Est. Puis son fils jouait bantam à Saint-Léonard. Puis je sais pas comment, il avait été une game, puis il avait vu Earl, il ne connaissait pas Earl. Puis il vient me voir le lundi matin à l'Hydro, puis il me dit « Dan, il y a une, excuse le mot là, mais il y a, non, on ne me dirait pas le mot, là, disons, il y a un fou. À Soleil, c'est pas d'allure, ce bonhomme-là, il n'a pas de bon sens, il capote, il crie tout le temps, il donne de la merde, ça n'a pas de bon sens. » Fait que là, ça n'a pas été long, trop difficile à identifier. Fait que j'ai dit, c'est parce que tu le connais pas. Une fois que tu vas le connaître, tu vas voir que c'est le gars qui crie peut-être après ses jeunes, mais c'est lui qui va les reconduire après. C'est lui qui leur donne une chemise s'ils n'en ont pas. Puis c'est un homme que tu vas apprendre à apprécier quand tu vas le connaître. Ça s'était resté là, on ne pouvait pas. Puis il s'était impliqué après dans le football à Saint-Léonard au niveau des équipements, ainsi qu'il est devenu gérant d'équipement d'équipe Canada, dont Earl et moi faisaient partie. C'est sûr je l'avais aidé un peu. Puis après, il m'avait dit, tu sais, Daniel, ce que tu m'avais dit il y a des années, là, ce monsieur-là, là, c'est un grand monsieur. Fait que ça expliquait tout.
Outside of football, he's the perfect gentleman. And, I mean, you couldn't meet a more gracious guy that goes out of his way for you. You know, you don't need anything. If you need it, you got it. On the field, don't expect anything from him. He expects it from you. And if you don't get it, he'll give it to you. Big time. And I've heard every expression known to man.
When he first took me to champs, all the coaches, he was pouring the beer of pitcher equally. But with me, I didn't know what was going on. He kept pitching it slow. I was only getting like small, and I go, hey, what's going on? But I could see he was laughing, and because it's the first time I was integrated with non-handicapped people, I didn't make a scene, but then it kept getting to be a trend. For every glass he would fill up with the coach, he would only give me a little bit. Then he was laughing his head off. Then I finally said, well, what's going on? Then he explained to me, he wants to see if I'm going to be okay, that I won't get drunk. I told him I would never do that. He taught me how to drink. I ended up finishing the pitcher.
You know, you could feel that he really cared. He just didn't care about winning. He cared about the individual kids. And for myself, and I know for a lot of my teammates, Earl was like so much more than just a coach. He was a mentor and like a friend, and somebody that we always knew that we could come to with problems or that would help us with guidance in our life, you know.
Et ben, je lui demande comme ça, est-ce qu'il y a quelque chose que je peux faire pour aider, mais pas pensant trop. Puis là, il m'a dit, ah, c'est bon que tu dises ça, tu peux coacher au football. Et puis je dis, ben, qu'est-ce que je vais coacher? Puis il dit, ben, tu vas t'occuper des groupes des atomes, ça, ce sont les 6-7 ans. Et puis, ben, je dis, ok, mais avec qui je vais coacher? C'est qui la personne responsable? Puis il dit, non, c'est toi qui vas coacher les 6-7 ans, c'est toi qui es responsable. J'ai dit, oui, mais est-ce qu'il y a d'autres coachs ou bien quoi que ce soit? Il dit, non, c'est toi qui vas coacher les 6-7 ans, tu vas trouver une équipe de coachs, puis vous allez commencer. Je dis, ok, ça commence quand? Ça commence demain. Et puis, ben, en fait, j'étais venu voir Earl juste pour lui dire bonjour, puis je suis reparti là, coach du groupe des atomes des 6-7 ans de Jeunesse au Soleil. Puis ça fait plus que 10 ans, puis de là, ben, tous les étés, je reviens, puis je coach football encore à Jeunesse au Soleil.
We always knew where every buffet was on the east coast of the US. We always knew where the best shopping deals were. So, I mean, you could be driving through the back streets of New York State and, you know, he'd say, all right, let's turn left at the next corner. It's like, Earl, what do you mean turn left? Oh, there's a buffet about 15 blocks down, best one in this neighborhood. And later on, we'll go shopping around the corner because there's a great outlet store like 3 blocks down. And I guess from traveling with all the kids and all the tournaments, and it wasn't just football, it was basketball and all the other sports, Earl had learned like where the best deals were because a lot of the kids who were coming along were looking for the deals, or he'd always buy stuff for everybody. I know that he always he'd buy stuff for his kids and later on his grandkids all the time. And at the same time, he realized the buffet was the easiest and the cheapest way to feed, you know, a team of 40 people. The only problem was when we were 4 or 6, sometimes like, Earl, can we go to a nicer restaurant? No, I love this buffet. So we always ended up that. So I think that's the thing with Earl, it was always, what you saw is what you got, but there was a softness there, and there was a heart of gold there that just people, you had to find it. It took a little while, but it was there.
When we played in the International Bowl, that was incredible for the kids. You know, we brought the kids into Toronto for a bowl game between 2 conferences in the US, and they got to play on the Friday night before the bowl game. And I remember very clearly, we had brought all the kids in because there was the banquet for the bowl game, and there was Reverend Jesse Jackson who was there. And it was between University of Buffalo and UConn, and they were having a game, and it all had to do with you know, racism in the U.S. in the 1950s, because the team from Buffalo was a team that had refused to go play in a bowl game because they had 2 black players on their team, and black players were not allowed to play on the field that the game was being played on in Florida. And our young children, you know, 25, 30 years after that, they get to hear, you know, what people had done in the name of eliminating racism and having people play together. And so these games were much more than just football games. They were a chance for all of these kids to go out and see parts of the world they'd never seen and experience things that they would never experience and learn some deep, meaningful things.
I would equate Earl with everything Sun Youth has done for me, and I don't think I would have had all the opportunities that I did have had it not been for Sun Youth. And Earl was one of the first, Sun Youth was the first summer program to go and play AAU tournaments in the States for girls. And that was thanks to Earl, and that's where I got my break to play basketball and eventually got to do some amazing things, and none of that would have ever happened without Earl believing in women's basketball.
Quand tu joues plus au football, ta carrière est terminée, ou tu t'en allais pour jouer college universitaire, puis t'es blessé, tu peux plus jouer, tu peux plus, il y a plus rien qui t'attend, tu commences à broyer du noir. Puis c'est là que Earl est venu me chercher. C'est là qu'il est venu, qu'il a allumé la lumière, puis il m'a fait comprendre que, hey, t'as une place, viens coacher. Moi, je me suis dit, cool, j'ai coaché les midgets, je suis encore jeune, j'ai la petite fougue. Et il me dit, non, I'm gonna be head coach with the Adams. Je dis, non. Il dit, yes. Je dis, non. I said, yes. Il me donne un sifflet. Je pars à rire. Puis Dave arrive, il dit, hey, so here's the new head coach of the Adams. What? No. Yes. Les deux, yes. J'ai compris que, voilà, j'avais une nouvelle job à Sun Youth, puis c'était mon devoir, la meilleure expérience à vie. Je remercie Earl, Dave.
When I see the kids playing football or watch what they do with the golf tournament, that was because of him. That golf tournament was a means for him to get money so he could buy sporting equipment for the kids. We like to push away poverty. And that's wrong. We need to look at poverty and say, how do we stop it? Not how do we push it away and hide it. And that was Earl. He understood that if he could show these kids they could come out here, that they could achieve stuff, that they could do stuff, that was a more positive way than trying to hide it. Now when I look at this area changing and becoming called a plateau or whatever they call it today, and I see people saying, well, we don't want this and we don't want that. Time. These kids were born here. They were brought up here. And you're gonna you wanna push them away because you don't wanna see them out there. You wanna take away all the things they do, playing on the mountain or putting in lights or doing that because it's gonna disturb you. Well, I got something to tell you. You do that. And you don't have to worry about where they're gonna be because you're gonna find out where they're gonna be. They're going to be hanging around the corners and they're going to be getting themselves in trouble. And they're going to be at your door taking what they can take. But if you show them that there's a better way, if you take them and you help them and you don't push poverty away, because it is there and it does exist, but how do we change the things around to make it go away? Then you achieve what Earl was trying to achieve with these kids.
Earl at Sun Youth is taking us out of the street, helping us out in any way or means to give a helping hand. You know, we had a little problem. We would talk to Earl back then, and Earl will always have a solution. We couldn't do something at the time, Earl would always fix something. There was payments that I remember, even myself, you know, at times that when my kids were playing hockey, we couldn't pay for hockey sometimes. The fees of $300. And Earl would say, let's take the kids out of the streets and play them over here. So we wouldn't charge us. So Earl was a big part of our lives in that aspect. That's where our friendship started getting bigger and bigger.
Earl, il a eu une grande influence, non seulement quand j'ai joué au football, quand j'étais en secondaire 3, mais même avant ça, je jouais au basket. Puis il a vu que j'avais des habiletés de genre de basketball. Puis au Soleil, on avait une équipe élite l'été. C'était une équipe qui allait souvent aux États-Unis, qui était une des meilleures équipes au Québec. Puis oui, les frais étaient élevés à cause de ces voyagements que moi et ma famille, on ne pouvait pas se permettre. Puis Earl, il a poussé pour que je puisse faire partie de cette équipe-là. Non pas comme gratuitement, allez, vas-y, mais comme je travaillais dans le camp de jour pour compenser. Donc c'est une bonne façon non seulement que je fasse partie de cette équipe-là, mais aussi de dire aux jeunes, oui, tu vas faire partie, mais il faut que tu travailles pour. Il n'y a rien qui vient facilement dans la vie au gratuit. Donc, ça a toujours été un des deux. Donc. Puis, à partir de ce moment-là, je suis restée en train de travailler dans le camp de jour pendant des années et aussi restée dans l'équipe d'été avec Jeunesse, Soleil.
I was also working here in the summers. That was another thing that Sun Youth provided, was a job in the summers. You know, I worked in the CP department, crime prevention department, and my wife Nancy, who happens to be Earl's niece, was working in day camp, and we met, and you know, the rest is history. We have a little boy now, and he's for sure going to play for Sun Youth one day.
Well, Earl meant a lot to me because he was an example of what a human being should be in all senses. He had very high moral values. His ethics, his work ethic was second to none. He gave of himself. He never thought of himself taking something without the teams being first. He raised money to get uniforms. He raised money to enter the leagues. And he was a person that cared about our society. There are not many people like Earl around that gave of themselves. These are special, special people that you meet once in your lifetime.
It was never about him. It was about everyone else. And I love him and would love him till the day I die.
I think about him because we were together. I would tell you, he was my best friend, and probably the friend I kept the most of my life.
I think the best way that all of us can honor Earl De La Perralle is just try to do the right thing more often and help others. You know, I remember Earl coming to my live events at a sports bar, and he'd tell me, I got to get going. I have to go meet a mother and help her get clothes for her kid to get ready for the school, the school semester that's coming up. It wasn't just sports. It wasn't just football. It was everybody. I swear to God, guys, we could live to be 100 years and you're never going to meet another Earl De La Perralle. You know, the city of Montreal has lost a lot over the years. And you know, every time we lose a Ted Tevin, a Montreal Expos, an Earl De La Perralle, you know, the city just becomes a little bit dimmer, so to speak. But I think it's up to us to be that light on the mountain, on Mount Royal that overlooks Sun Youth and a football field. And remember, next time you have an opportunity to help somebody, and you're not going to get anything back from it. That's the key. We can all help people if it's going to help us advance our careers, but can we help people if we're not going to get anything from it, and no one's going to know that we did it, you know what? Just do it, because Earl De La Perralle did. We miss you, Earl. You're gone, but you'll never be forgotten. Godspeed, my friend.